What is this grafting?
So grafting is a technique which we use in planting, and it takes a stem, a branch of a flower, and it must be the size of your palm, and you cut off certain nodes, and then you attach with your other plant so that new branch stems out of the grafted part. And it is one of the most easiest way to grow plants.
Can you trace the reasons of religious extremism and fundamentalism in Pakistan?
So there are multiple reasons which can be included. So first of all would be the push and pull factors, amongst which the economic factors are very important. So when there is little avenues for people to transform their energies into a positive and transformative way, so they take up and look for other avenues. So Pakistan currently has a high NEET rate. So it means that 37% of our population is neither in employment, nor in training, nor in education.
Why then West is against Russia? Why do you think, why this war is going on, this Ukraine war, this Ukraine-Russia?
So because the West, or at least Europe, which is also led by the West, so it wants to maintain a balance in its favor in the European security architecture. So that is why they have been expanding NATO eastwards. Thank you, sir.
What are your good name is?
ABEERA Manahal.
Manahal, you belong to which place?
I was born in Faisalabad and I was raised in Lahore.
What is the business of your parents?
So my father is a civil servant and my mother is a housewife.
Where he is working?
So he's currently on leave, but he is a 19th grade section office, additional secretary, and he was earlier posted in the district education department.
Punjab government se hain?
Yes, so PMS.
What is his name?
So Muhammad Sajid Bashir.
Manahal, what is your educational background?
So it's B Honours English Literature from Government College, University Lahore. And I graduated in 2023. I was also a thrice topper.
2023?
Yes, and I was also a thrice topper of my batch and participant of the English Literary Society of our department.
Is that your first attempt?
Yes, sir.
You are Arabian?
Yes, sir.
What is the motto of the Arabian wo jo likha hota hai aapke bag pe?
Sir, it's the emblem is a fire, so it's sort of.
No.
Uske niche
It is a torch.
torch.
So it is, as far as I can remember, it's a torch slide. So
It's a torch.
Yes.
Torch ke niche
नीचे तीन लफ्ज लिखे हुए हैं.
likhe hue hain.
Yes, sir. I cannot recall at the point.
Courage to know नहीं सब.
Courage to know. Yes.
तो अब you are Ravian, तो बड़े गौर से नहीं पढ़ते इन चीजों को.
Sir, it skipped out of my mind currently.
And what are your hobbies?
So they include book reading, gardening, and playing badminton with my sister during the weekends.
Book reading, gardening, and
Badminton with my sister.
badminton. Okay. What is the flower season these days? What is the name of those flowers?
So there are also flowers that grow that remain.
This this part of the year. Can you name few flowers which are growing?
The ones that I've seen in my own house.
Winter flowers की बात करो.
Which exhibition is going to start from 4th of December in Jelani Park?
Sir, I think so. They also include marigold flowers.
No, not at all. Marigold is a seasonal flower.
Seasonal
You are
flower,
right.
yes.
But what are the other flowers?
Sir, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
What is this grafting?
So grafting is a technique which we use in planting, and it takes a stem, a branch of a flower, and it must be the size of your palm, and you cut off certain nodes, and then you attach with your other plant so that new branch stems out of the grafted part. And it is one of the most easiest way to grow plants, to multiply plants.
You are a student of literature.
Yes, sir.
Can you compare romanticism in the English poetry with the Urdu poetry?
Romanticism in English poetry, primarily it started with the Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge, the writing the lyrical ballads. So from the initial point, they started by praising nature and seeing nature as a god and underlying the philosophy of pantheism.
Okay, that's all. Now come to the Urdu poetry.
And apart from that, beyond nature, they also emphasize the emphasis upon emotions and individuality as opposed to strict, rigid norms and conventionality. So where in Urdu literature, we don't find that kind of glorifying of nature or the pantheism element, but when we talk about the emphasis upon logic, upon emotions, upon intuition, upon one's feeling, so we have that ample when it comes to Urdu literature as well. So there's a similarity in
Do you think कि
terms of
उर्दू लिटरेचर
emotions.
ने कोई पोएट ऑफ नेचर पैदा नहीं किया?
At least I haven't come across. But when it comes to emotions, then we do have multiple poets.
क्योंकि सूरज ने जाते जाते लाले से आकबा को कंप्लीट करे,
Sir, I'm not
इससे
well
ज़्यादा
read in
नेचर
Urdu.
की डिपिक्शन तो कोई कर नहीं सकता.
Sir, unfortunately, I'm not well read when it comes to Urdu
Not familiar
literature.
with Iqbal?
Yes, but I'm not as much familiar with Urdu literature. It's not my forte.
What is this classicism?
So classicism was the predecessing movement of Romanticism, and it emphasized the importance on institutions, upon order, upon the use of logic and rationality. So it was quite a rigid focus on conventionalism, and it created rigid hierarchies. And inspiration was the Greek classicism, where the focus was upon order. So as a reaction to it, and since it was the period of industrial revolution, so the romantics rose as a opposition to it.
You know about the Pakistan's conflict with Afghanistan?
Yes, sir.
Of course, you must be knowing. What is the reason that Qatar and Saudi Arabia are very much bothered about it? Despite the fact that now we are at a dead end with Afghanistan, they are still pursuing us to negotiate with Taliban, and making a lot of attempts. Why Qatar and why Saudi Arabia in particular? What is the background?
There have been secret talks as well going on in Riyadh yesterday.
So when it comes to Saudi Arabia, that can be understood because Saudi Arabia sees itself as the leader or the Muslims, especially the Sunni Muslim part of the world. And when it comes to Qatar, so Qatar has highlighted itself as a mediator. So it's important if it's able to bring Pakistan and Afghanistan on table talks and pursue a durable peace.
But
then
have they recognized the Taliban government?
No, sir, they haven't recognized.
When they have not recognized, then what is their sympathies with the? First of all, they should recognize the Taliban government. If your thesis is correct, then they should recognize the Taliban government.
So they're not recognizing. The recognition has, I think so. It doesn't have to do anything with their other rationale behind their pursuing negotiations, because it leads to if the things don't go well between both countries, so it will not only be bad for both Pakistan and Afghanistan, but also incur regional instability. That would not be in line with the economic situation and also with the economic ties that we're establishing with Saudi Arabia. And secondly, the reason why I believe Saudi Arabia has not recognized.
Okay. This is about these two countries.
Yes.
But what about the Turkey, its role in the present conflict?
So Turkey has also been making
Why Turkey is interested in Taliban? Why they want to protect them?
So because Turkey under Erdogan is pursuing a kind of a Muslim leadership role, and it has its sympathies with Islamist elements, as could be seen especially in its role in Syria as well. And so it has been sympathetic. I think so it has more to do with the sympathies with how the Mujahideen and the Mujahideen era was. So it has sympathies from an Islamist point of view. And also secondly, it is trying to compete with Qatar as it's with the position of a mediator, of a credible mediator that can bring two Muslim countries together on the same page.
So,
yesterday in the National Assembly, we heard about the talk about governor rule, imposition of governor rule in KPK. What are the prerequisites for imposition of governor rule in any province in the context of Constitution of Pakistan?
Sir, I'm not sure about governor rule.
कोई मसला नहीं. Can you trace the reasons of religious extremism and fundamentalism in Pakistan?
So there are multiple reasons which can be included. So first of all would be the push and pull factors, amongst which the economic factors are very important. So when there is little avenues for people to transform their energies into a positive and transformative way, so they take up and look for other avenues. So Pakistan currently has a high NEET rate. So it means that 37% of our population is neither in employment, nor in training, nor in education.
This is one reason.
Yes.
What
Secondly,
are the reasons?
it has to do with the with the long and overdue unregulation of madrasas that we haven't sort of done. So, and little institutional incentives that we haven't given to madrasas. So there's little when the madrasa graduates and are able to come into the society and take up social mobility, and which is also provided by the madrasa, so that they have little incentives to be able to be proactive citizens. And thirdly, sir, it has to do with also religious misinterpretations and fundamentalism. So that can also be considered a reason.
What is your take on Abraham Accord, and what are the options available to Pakistan if Saudi Arabia recognizes Israel and want us to be on board? What would be the implication and what should we do?
Sir, Abraham Accords, I believe the reason I believe they were not a durable or a sustainable solution to the Gaza and Israel problem, because the political constituency that is Hamas, that was ignored. So
But the question is different. Focus on the question.
So it was about what is your take on Abraham Accords? So I believe it wasn't durable from the very start, because Hamas as a political constituency, whether we agree with it or not, was ignored. So history proves that if the political constituency is ignored, so...
Come to the part B of my question.
Yes, and if Saudi Arabia, if it signs Abraham Accords, but it is contingent upon establishing a Palestinian statehood. So if Saudi Arabia recognizes it, it will put
and
Pakistan
ask us to, as a
yes,
friend,
it will
as
put,
allies,
yes, it will ask
to be on board.
Yes, it will put Pakistan in a catch-22 situation. So it will be, first situation would be the economic incentives, and also because we have economic partnerships ongoing with Saudi Arabia, and our economic situation does not allow us to be able to be strategically autonomous in terms of foreign policy decision makings. So that will be putting in a difficult situation. But at the same time, the other situation would be the domestic backlash that we might face.
My last question. You are aspiring to become a civil servant. What is ailing Pakistan's bureaucracy?
So there are multiple factors that have been ailing Pakistan's bureaucracy. The first is that there is no tenure protection when it comes to the bureaucracy, and secondly, there is political interferences. So that leads to a clash of interest as well. So the elite capture, or that could be called the elite mess that we have, where competing elites influence the policy making,
so
etc.
you are exonerating your civil servants totally.
The bureaucracy itself is another part of the elite system. So there is competing interest that also ails the bureaucracy from performing well. And thirdly, sir, we don't have the pressures that the bureaucrats face. That could also be considered as an impediment, and the other reasons could be that we have digital gaps when it comes to our bureaucracy. So we're still a pretty much a red tapeism sort of bureaucracy.
Thank you, sir. All right, ABEERA, so you have opted for European history. So can you tell us that during the Second World War, so Russia played a prominent role. It was one of the Allied powers. But yet we see that right after the World War II, all of the Allied powers, for example, the US and the West, UK and the West, they turned against Russia, right? So what were the causes? Why it happened? And it is basically, the rift is present at present as well. So what are the causes?
So the first reason was that a common enemy had been eliminated. So it was more likely a marriage of convenience between Russia and between the Allied powers. So they were competing against the combined forces of Nazism and fascism in Europe. So when the common enemy had died, so they fell apart. Secondly, it had to do with the ideological clash. So Russia or USSR was representing communism and the Western Bloc was representing capitalism. So ideological differences are very hard to bridge a gap between such differences. And thirdly, sir, as in any great power rivalry, the need to stretch your influence and to be able to have a hegemony was also the factor behind the division between the two blocs.
Okay, I understand. It's a good answer, but can you tell us that why couldn't West, led by the US, include Russia in the Marshall Plan as well. Why did they exclude Russia? Why did they exclude Russia even during the 1960s and 70s? Even when they made rapprochement with China during the 1970s, it's a communist country as well. Why not Russia?
So because I believe, China was only starting as a country, but Russia was already an empire, and as the West had its own empirical ambitions, so Russia also had empirical ambitions as well. Imperial ambitions. So when there's a great power rivalry, so of course, as any one bloc would not like the other bloc to be included, or to have a predominance over it. So that is why I believe it was not included in the Marshall Plan. And also Russia...
But this argument is the same. I mean, this argument from the West that Russia has some, or Putin has some revanchist claims, revisionist claims that he wants to build the Russian empire again.
No, sir, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, so you don't agree with that. So why, because Putin never said that, and Russia never said that. So why then West is against Russia? Why do you think, why this war is going on, this Ukraine war, this Ukraine-Russia?
Sir, because the West, or at least Europe, which is also led by the West, so it wants to maintain a balance in its favor in the European security architecture. So that is why they have been expanding NATO eastwards, in order so that Russia cannot expand backwards. And that is also the reason why, again, Putin's main reason behind invading Ukraine was that to stop the eastward expansion of NATO, and to make Ukraine as a buffer as a buffer state, especially the Crimea and the Donbas region, since it saw it as an existential threat, not just an ordinary threat.
So just final question, what is this 19-point formula which is being propagated by President Trump now?
So it was initially a 28-piece formula, now it has been reduced to a 19-piece formula. So the 4 to 5 essential features of it. So the first, it says that it wants to establish it is tilted in favor of Russia in the sense that it wants to compromise on Ukraine's territorial integrity. So it says that the Russian annexation of Crimea and Donbas should be accepted, whilst also freezing the current frontline hotlines, such as in the Zaporizhia region and Kherson region. Secondly, it also wants to reduce the strategic autonomy of Ukraine as a state. So it says that its military personnel should be capped to 6 lakh, and then the elections should be conducted within 100 days of signing the deal, and then it should be constitutionally renouncing its ambitions of joining NATO. And thirdly, sir, an important feature of it is that it provides certain guarantees. The US provides certain guarantees, but at the same time there's no binding nature of such guarantees, and history proves, as the Budapest Agreement was also an agreement between Russia and Ukraine, that without binding security guarantees, Ukraine will only be
Professor Mearsheimer says that these security guarantees which are being promised, it is tantamount to Ukraine joining the NATO. So Russia will never accept that.
Yes,
what do you say?
Yes, sir, and that is why they both, I believe, as his own analysis says, that there needs to be a compromise, and Ukraine is not an active agent. It's only a piece in the chess of great power rivalry that is between Russia and US.
Thank you, ABEERA.
What is this? Where is this cold desert?
Sir, I believe it's in Russia. It's in Russia, I believe.
It is in Pakistan.
It's in Pakistan, sir.
Where it is?
Sir, I cannot.
And it's also a very high altitude desert.
It's in northern areas.
Northern area में किधर है? This is.
Skadruga सुना?
Yes.
Thank you, beta.
Okay, sir.